explore the wisdom of the revered Narada Bhakti Sutras, a cornerstone of Hindu devotion, with His Holiness Swami Jyotirmayananda. Experience 45 enlightening lessons on the essence of Bhakti Yoga. Discover the path to pure love for God and transcend the material world. Embrace the teachings that have guided devotees for centuries. Attain spiritual perfection through devotion. Prepare to understand the depths of divine love. Find your path to spiritual enlightenment. Trust in the sutras. Follow these instructions. Be blessed with devotion. And now, His Holiness Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Devasutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality, and blessed self in all adorations. In Narada Bhakti Sutras, 57th Sutra, the previous talk, we spoke about 4 types of devotees. You must realize our topic is Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion. And devotion relates to the heart, feeling aspect. Feeling aspect in human being is deep-rooted. Everything else comes later. And it is to understand, to experience the sanctity of feeling and to allow it to grow and blossom. That's the whole process of Bhakti Yoga, path of devotion. It exists in all religions in some form or the other. Rather, it is a central feature of all religions. But human personality has 4 aspects. Action. Relating to action, there is Karma Yoga. Emotion, feeling, relating to feeling, there is Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. The willing of the mind. Relating to it, there is Dhyana Yoga, the path of meditation. And there is reasoning aspect of the personality. Relating to that is Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge, wisdom. So you have to decide whether you want to be a Karma Yogi, develop your personality in the aspect of action, or feeling, emotion, or the willing aspect, or reasoning aspect. You have certain choice, because every person comes into the world with a backing of previous sadhanas, the previous process of evolution that has taken place. So some find it path of reasoning easier, Jnana Yoga. Some find it meditation easier, so practice Dhyana Yoga. Some find it devotion easier, or some action. The one thing important to understand that no matter which yoga you choose and give prominence to, other yogas are always linked and they are inseparable. In other words, if you were to think of just enhancing your heart, so you just love God, nothing to do with meditation or knowledge, all that will come back automatically. Because when you have love in your heart and compassion, your actions will flow along Karma Yoga. You will like to relieve people of their misery. When love becomes highlighted in your mind begins to concentrate. So meditation becomes easy. And as divine love removes from your mind restrictions, subtle taints, impurities, the knowledge begins to shine. Your intellect becomes intuitional. You can't help it. In other words, if you say, I will be simply a devotee and I don't need to have any jnana or knowledge, the knowledge will come to you. You can't help it. Think of your personality. Hand aspect, heart aspect, head aspect. To make it convenient, the neck aspect. And in your plan for building up health, you say only I will exercise my hand. In order to succeed in it, you have to have an integral plan. Similarly, there is integral plan automatically. That's what we call integral yoga. Yoga is always integral. But it is also important to understand each yoga and its details. As well as you have full choice to highlight any particular yoga. Presently, we are highlighting Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. Previous day, we talked about 4 types of devotees. Artha, devotee who turns to God in distress. Artharthi, you turn to God because you need wealth, resources in your life. Even if you have to do some good deeds to the world, you need resources. So there is always materials needed. And a devotee turns to God for proper resources. And then there is Jigyasu. You turn to God for removing confusions of the mind, to bring clarity to your understanding, to give you deep insight into the mystery of the world, the mystery of life. What's the goal to be realized? That's the philosophical aspect. The sutra says that in the 57th sutra, Uttarasmat Purva Sheyaya Bhavati, of these 3 classifications mentioned in the previous sutra, each prior type is better than the one succeeding it because it's conducive to the highest good. Now I'll explain that point. 3 classifications. The 4th is the finality. 4th is called Jnani. Jnani is your knowledge has blossomed. And Bhakti has reached its climax. Devotion has climbed the highest state. Artharthi, if you are turning to God for material wealth or material support, that's the first rung, lowest. If your mind turns to God for understanding God, for studying the scriptures, to have insight into the subtle mysteries, we are second-class devotee. But when your whole heart becomes involved in devotion, speaking in ordinary way, your heart aches for God. That's very profound. And that results in the ultimate. You become unified with God. The Gita uses the term jnani in that particular, not in a one-sided aspect of jnana, an integral unfoldment of your personality. To give you another way of looking at it, you need all these four aspects to have integral evolution, integral progress. One who has developed a perfect personality. His heart is always artha. Artha means it has two implications. People generally develop a melting heart during distress, or you develop a melting heart during profound love of God. Here the artha refers to that type of heart that has like a cloud with so much moisture in it, it just doesn't know whether to stay in the cloud, in the sky, or drip. It is saturated with divine feeling, dripping. That ardra state of the heart with melting love, that's the highest. And then, hand aspect, you need to always be involved in action. No one lives in this world without some activity. If you are a devotee, compassion rules your personality. Therefore, you will become automatically involved in alleviating suffering in humanity or trying to remove suffering anywhere. And therefore, you will draw to yourself all things that are needed for that project. You are artharthi, you will collect materials. And third aspect, your head will become clearer and clearer. You will begin to understand that God within you is the reality of your soul. Between your soul and God, there is a simple way to understand. Suppose you are looking at a jar with water. There is a reflected sun in it. The reflected sun is like the soul, God reflecting in the waters of your mind. And that reflected aspect is highlighted in your personality. This is me. And all the stories of the soul relate to that reflected self. The incarnations that have gone on, karmas that have been created, what future awaits, all that relates to the individual soul that is just a ray. When you develop devotion, you are discovering the source of that ray. That source is the sun. You bring into your heart the awareness that ego is not me. What underlies the ego? The eternal soul in me is always sustained by God. A reflected sun in a jar of water is always sustained by the sun. It cannot be separated even for a moment. As you advance on the path of devotion, that separation moves away because it's created by mental illusion. When you go to sleep, who is sustaining you at that time? You are not aware of your body, you are not aware of your senses, etc. But you get refreshed. Your entire body gets recharged. He who sustains you is the divine self. And there isn't a moment when you are not sustained by God. That's an interesting parable which I have told before. That's the idea that enters the mind of a devotee. God has forgotten me. God has forsaken me. That idea comes because of ignorance, dullness of the intellect. It's an episode, a parable. During 16th century, India was ruled by a Mughal king, Akbar. He was a very bright personality who loved to know the subtlety of the Hindu religion. And he had a minister, Birbal. Birbal was a Brahmin who used to give him some lessons of Hindu religion, of Vedanta and Bhakti devotion. The other people who were there supporting the king, they didn't like that. So they always created some plot to destroy Birbal. And once Birbal was little late coming and they had already created a scheme, they said to the king, "Okay, why don't you tell all the Hindu priests that your statue should be a statue with the likeness of you should be installed in all Hindu temples, because Hindus have many gods. One more God, and especially a God who is practically helpful, because other gods, they sit only like a statues. You are alive and you can really help them. So they must use their common sense and give you all the honor and prestige." Of course, everyone likes to be glorified. So Akbar was very happy about it. And his face was beaming with joy. And Birbal came in. Akbar turned to Birbal. Said, "What do you say? These people have come up with the best idea. Why didn't I think of it before? I should be installed in all the temples, because I am practically the God." And he turned to Birbal and said, "Don't you think so?" Birbal said, "No. Absolutely not." That's what the people who plotted, that's the answer they expected. And in those days, if you say no to a king, that means your head will fall very soon. Of course, Akbar himself was dazzled, kind of shocked. How can anyone say with such boldness no to something the king likes? So he waited a moment and he asked, "Why do you say so?" He said, "Because," he said it 3 times to give more suspense. "Because you are greater than God." Now Akbar had never expected. And all other people were shocked. They all wanted Akbar to be just God, not greater than God. So Akbar turned to him and said, "Why do you say so?" He said, "If anybody does something criminal in your kingdom, you have the power to drive him out of your kingdom. But in this universe, if anybody does lots of sinful karmas, negative karmas, no matter how immense the karmas, God can't drive him out." So you excel God. In a subtle way, he discouraged Akbar from getting installed. and in a profound way to understand the soul within you is a reflection of God. How can he destroy his reflection? So therefore, one thing is absolutely certain, that the soul in you is not going to be destroyed. Now, another thing, how to lead the soul to recognize its unity with God, how to discover its essential identity as God himself. I am that am I. There is another classification in the practice of devotion. You can be a tamasic bhakta, or a rajasic bhakta, or a sattvic bhakta. Bhakta means devotee. You turn to God with devotion. The lowest is you are turning to God with devotion, but you have a selfish purpose behind it. You want God to punish your enemy. You want God to satisfy your mind in the matters of revenge, jealousy, hatred. There are many people who do practice a negative type of worship. That's tamasic. In Hindu scriptures, they are described as Rakshasas. If you read the story of demoniac personalities, they were a very great practitioner of meditation. And they did a lot of japa, lot of meditation. We study Ravana, I practiced a lot of meditation, lot of japa. And in spite of all that, he was a demon. He gained power, immense mental power. But that was a negative type of mind, demoniac mind. Even to be a demon, you need a lot of mental concentration. But that concentration and that using God's name in that direction is tamasic, the lowest, gross. And that's not real devotion at all. Then there is rajasic type. Each time when you are under pressure, then you turn to God. If the pressure moves away, God is forgotten. It's a dramatization in a humorous way. Someone, a young man, looked at the date or rather coconut tree. Lots of coconuts were there. There's a farmer, he thought, how wonderful it will be, I just bring them down. So he climbed up. They have the technique of doing that, and dropped most of the coconuts. But by this time, he became little exhausted. And when he looked down, he became dizzy. It's a very big height. He realized that now his doom has come. Certainly he's going to die. Immediately he remembered, oh God, if you could just let me live, I will give all these coconuts to the temple to be distributed among people. I will not take any one of them. So it's all for your sake. By this time, he gained a little strength. Came down, 1/3. See, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Now he came to a certain level down, and he looked at all the wonderful coconuts. Now he said, oh God, half will be good for you. I will take a half, you will have a half. he came down a little more. And he decreased the quantity to be given to God. When he completely got down, he took all that and ran to his home. This is a dramatization to show that people under stress turn to God, but that's not devotion. The moment that stress moves away, God is gone. Rajasic devotion is similar. Under the pressure of some illusion, a student wants to pass an examination, but he has not prepared himself. Now he turns to devotion. And he prays, offers. Turning to God for material attainments, wealth, fame, power. Even that, the response from God comes to help you, but you have not utilized the full implication of devotion. But when sattva develops in your mind, you must realize three gunas. Tamas is the lowest. When tamas enters, mind is clouded extremely. It holds to anger, hate, jealousy. Rajas enters, mind is externalized. You are always thinking of things in a distracted manner. And when sattva develops, mind becomes calm, relaxed. So if sattva has developed, your devotion is of advanced type. But devotion becomes the highest when you are not dependent upon the gunas. Gunas are the modes of nature. And all the three gunas go on changing. Your mind cannot be always in a state of serenity or in a state of relaxation. Situations continue to change. If you are the highest devotee, then no matter what guna, if tamas comes, you feel lazy and you will go to sleep. Sleep will refresh you. If rajas comes, you become active, you do a lot of good deeds. Good karmas create more positive impressions in your mind. If sattva develops, you study, meditate, you utilize all the gunas. So much so that you view yourself like a cloud, rather like a sky. Sattva means silvery clouds have come. Rajas means clouds are very jumping around, not constantly drifting. Tamas, clouds are dark, opaque. The sky is detached. If you reach that state, that is the goal. Triguna-atita state. But in order to reach the goal, you have to give more value to sattva. How to keep the mind relaxed, happy, calm. And in that atmosphere of the mind, how to invoke God. Your prayer, your japa, or any sadhana you do with a sattvic mind that is calm, relaxed, that sadhana become very potent. On the other hand, you don't wait for your mind to become calm. If as you practice japa, meditation, prayer, all this has the potentiality to create serenity in your mind. So it goes both ways. If you have sattvic mind, your prayer will be much more powerful. If you have rajasic, tamasic mind, prayer will help you to become sattvic. Anyasmat saulabhyam bhaktau. The practice of devotion is the easiest of all other methods. Of 4 types of yoga that I have described, the major yogas: karma yoga, action; dhyana yoga, meditation; jnana yoga, path of reasoning; and bhakti yoga is the path of your heart, developing love of God. Of these 4, bhakti is the easiest because you do not have to be taught about love. You are born with it. It's innate in everyone. No one has seen a baby given a class on how to trust mother. All that trust, all that love is innate. And it continues to be innate. Every human heart has that quality of understanding the pain of others, quality of developing compassion. As mind becomes filled with negative impurities, anger, hate, etc., then you begin to lose that sensitivity of your heart. Otherwise, it is there. Bhakti allows you to bring it more in a state of, in a blossoming state, allow it to unfold. Therefore, it is easiest. In other yogas, you always ask, I'm having this experience, am I having this experience, am I doing right? But when love advances in your heart, you never ask people, am I loving well? It is something so deep that you are yourself the proof. When you go on giving tasty food to a guest, and as long as you ask question and he goes on describing it, you must realize he has not reached the tastiest food. When he enjoys it profoundly, then you simply watch his face. Another point to understand that if you have devotion along with any yoga you are practicing, that yoga becomes highly enhanced. Say, for example, we're doing service of humanity is karma yoga. Now, in that service, if you added that idea, you are serving God in human beings. You are serving God in your mother, serving God in your father, God in brothers, sisters, husband, wife. The moment you develop that, your karma yoga becomes enhanced. It becomes a dynamic process. So bhakti enhances any yoga. You are practicing meditation and you have bhakti in your heart, devotion. Bringing the mind to a focus is very easy. Concentrating on the object of love, teach a mother to remember her child. You don't have to do that. Mother never says, how can I remember my child when I have to do so many things? But you ask a person to remember God, well, I'm so busy from morning till night. I have no time. If only I had some time, I could try to understand that God is boundless love. All the love you experience towards human relatives, they are drops of that love. It is divine love that you are experiencing, just like the sun is up there. And all the things that glow on the earth are on the basis of the rays of the sun. All people around you, they glow with the source of boundless love, love of God. So if you could recognize divine love in your normal love, that becomes the great project in bhakti. You love God in your child, in your brother, sister, husband, wife, in society, in human beings. Ghat ghat mein hai Sai Ramatha. In every individual there dwells God. If you promote that, that's the path to saintliness. And all impurities of the mind will move away. Every yoga requires to have a mind free of impurities, malos, anger, hate, greed, aberrated passion. If you don't have devotion, you don't have profound love in your heart, the impurities may become attenuated. You can dry them up. But they are like dry seeds with little moisture, they will sprout again. But you have devotion in your heart, it melts them. It is the most potent detergent of all. It cleanses your mind completely. Therefore, devotion is most important, and it is the easiest of all methods. Pramanantarasyan apekshatvat swayam pramanatvat. Devotion is easiest of all methods because it is in itself the very nature of proof, and therefore it doesn't need other proofs. In the path of devotion, there is a direct experience of internal joy, of internal fulfillment. When you adopt other paths, then you have to consult those who are more experienced. You are practicing meditation, certain things happen during that time, you ask them. You are practicing devotion and your heart opens up with profound love of God. Even if it is not so profound, still you recognize the difference between a shallow love and a profounder love. I give you another simpler illustration. If you have chronic headache, and a doctor has given you a method to treat, and you ask, if my headache is gone, how will I know it? The answer, it is self-proven. You yourself are the best proof that the headache is gone. So devotion to God brings your mind to that subtle point. You yourself become the authority. You authenticate that experience. And with this we can go Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of spiritual growth. It's an honor to learn from the wisdom of Swami Jyotirmayananda. As we part for now, remember, the quest does not end. Take time to reflect on today's insights and integrate them into your life. Until next time, stay open, stay curious, stay present. The light within you is always shining.